once again for who joined us recently. Thanks a lot for joining us for our Finding and Funding Unicorns of Tomorrow series. And thanks a lot for sparing this 1 hour out of your Saturday for our session. Over to you, Mr. Johari.
Thanks, Gitansh. A small request to the audience, please keep your mics muted, and there'll be a feedback form that will be shared by Gitansh. It would be great if you could help us with the feedback so that we can make our programs even better for all of you. To begin with, I'll give a small primer on what angel investing is all about and why we have these workshops. So to start with, let me just share my screen. Yes, I hope my screen is visible to all of you.
It is, yes.
Okay, so Lead Angels Network is all about investing into startups, and yes, we do go beyond angel investing also. And so what exactly is a startup? A startup is a temporary organization in search of repeatable, scalable, and sustainable business models. Remove any one of these three, and you will have something which is sure to fail. It is for that reason that even though say Flipkart or say you have say unicorns, but they are still called startups because left to themselves, are they sustainable? Are they profitable? Can they manage their cash flows by themselves without any funding? In most cases, they cannot because they are fueling their growth. So they are not sustainable, and hence they will continue to be a startup because it is still not sustainable by itself. Okay. As you can see in the picture, this is a picture of a small sapling of a redwood tree. Now, redwood trees are one of the largest trees in the world. So if you nurture your sapling well, what you get is a redwood giant, which typically has a diameter of nearly 35 to 45 feet and a height of, it could be more than 150 to 200 feet. Okay, so that is exactly the global logic of startup investing, that you take a sapling, treat it well, nurture it well, and it could grow into a redwood giant like an Amazon, Google, Uber, Facebook, Airbnb, or Twitter. Okay, what is the India logic of investing? Most founders are looking for a problem to be solved. Any entrepreneurial activity requires you to spot a problem and solve it. And India, as we know, is filled with problems. May it be traffic, may it be commute, may it be population, may it be lack of infrastructure, may it be the cash economy, which continues to be there. And hence, India is actually a work in progress. And cultural changes, social changes in India are very strong, super strong. And what we are seeing is India is known to have jumped the technology waves. And demand constraints typically do not exist in most areas if you have priced your service or your product in the right manner. Hence, education, transportation, housing, financial services, F&B, entertainment, gaming, each have white spaces with the possibility of more than 3 to 4 companies that can be unicorns or capture a large market space. Indians by default are not fond of monopolies, and they do not allow monopolies to exist. In most cases, if we see, whether it is e-commerce, whether it's education, transportation, we've got more than 3 incumbents who are there to provide services or products to their customers. What is the Indian logic of startup investing? As of August end, we had nearly 60 plus unicorns. This is a jump from 37. From all probability, we will see at least 20 more additions by the end of 2021, that is December 2021. And what we should be looking at is at a figure of more than 80. As per some reports, we would cross 150 by 2025, but I think it could very much be in the next year itself that we cross that thing, because what has happened is the pandemic has helped accelerate the adoption of technology, people to imbibe all that is there available from the technology standpoint. And we have in comparison to last year, there were 11 unicorns that were formed in 2020. In this year, we already have more than 23 unicorns as of August 31st. Okay. And what are the benefits of angel investing? This is the only asset class which allows you. This is the only asset class which allows you returns in excess of 20%. While you could get hyper returns, you are also learning about new technology applications. You are there to provide guidance to entrepreneurs who are raring to go, who have strong passion, conviction, and they are ready to take on a dare. Okay, and of course, you are supporting entrepreneurs who are making a difference, because by default, most startups that succeed are the ones that have something benevolent in their nature when they're making something, cheaper, faster, swifter for the consumers, customers at large to adopt. What are the challenges that most challenges faced by an angel investor? Many of you have joined us recently, and you would appreciate the fact that most people are thinking, where do I find quality startups pan-India or across the thing? How do I evaluate them? Are there benchmarks available? Who helps me in the due diligence, documentation, and filings with the right kind of government authorities to ensure compliance? Is there someone who could help me with post-investment monitoring and support? Because most of us are working. We have like other vocations that we are into, and we may not have all the time on a day in and day out basis to keep track of what is happening across my startup investments. And also, last but not the least, what we invest for exits. And is there someone who can help me with timely fundraise and or M&A for exits? Okay, now that's exactly where Lead Angels comes in. We are right here for helping you find your way through the startup ecosystem. We have a full-time team to curate startups and assist in business review. We use collective wisdom, leveraging the network effect for evaluation. And we help conduct professional due diligence and documentation support to ensure compliance for the startups that we invest in. Once we have invested, we have programs for post-investment support and monitoring of the portfolio. In a sense, the community evaluates and the individual decides. Okay. Lead angels, as I said earlier, we go beyond angel investing. So not only do we have Lead Angels network, which does early and seed stage investment up to USD 500K in startups. We have a portfolio of nearly 50 companies now. We've done quite a few in the past 2 months. And we have lead advisory services, which helps our portfolio companies raise the future funding rounds. And we have LA management and professional services, which helps provide and assist in legal, accounting, and documentation services to startups across all stages. Okay. It also helps conduct due diligence of the companies that you're going to be investing in. What is the process we have? Every month, out of some 150 to 250 companies, we sift through 3 opportunities to present to our investor members. Once people are invested, after that pitch, we conduct a deep dive business review with an investor member who typically has expertise and interest in that area. And if all things is fine, he comes up with an X figure that he's going to be investing into that company. Once that review is done, we conduct an investor call, which is a detailed exercise. And post that, we request for the commitment for investing into that. On aggregating the investor commitments, we issue a term sheet to the company. And post that, we conduct the legal and financial due diligence by an agency which is appointed in cohorts with the lead. And once that is cleared, we go ahead with the documentation, and the investment flows into the company. Once that is done, our team takes over for post-investment monitoring and support. And of course, there is a selected member, mostly that is the lead, who would either become a director on board or an observer on the board of the company. These are of course supported by lead advisory as well as LAMPs. Once again, decisions are solely individual, while the LA team handles. Over the years, we have screened through more than 15,000 applications. Our investment committee has reviewed more than 2,000 companies in detail, of which we have selected 950 for showcasing. And out of these showcased, we have invested in nearly 50 companies right now. And follow-on fundraise and M&A, I think the figure has moved now to nearly 20 out of these. And if you ask for the mortality rate, it is less than 20%, which means I think around 8 companies are companies which may not be seeing the light of the day as of today. Okay. We insist that most of our members follow a portfolio and diversification approach on investing. And the reason exactly is because this being a very high risk class of assets, you need to have sectoral impact reduction, and you need to broad base your risk across number of investments. Okay. At Lead Angels, not only are we sector agnostic, but we also provide early stage options for investing into early stage category creators or mid stage or growth stage to build in the growth stage or the exit timing diversification into your portfolio. And apart from that, we ensure, so the right strategy is over a period of 3 years, you invest into at least 11 to 15 startups at the minimum. Because the moment you do that, then you'll see the magic starting to happen. This is some of our portfolio that we have. We had Super Daily got acquired by Swiggy. Shop Kirana has grown, the revenues have grown nearly 100 times since we invested into them. We have Planet Spark. It got investments at 5 times the multiple what we invested in less than a year. We've got Okipoki, which has got some serious funds, and also CEOs of unicorn companies backing it now. Apart from us, we've got category creators like Noto. We've got Zivolve, which is a no-code hyper automation company. And some of our companies have gotten acquired. And of course, we've got GamerJi, which is the topic of interest of today. Our team is there, which can be seen on the website, founded by Sushant Mitra. And we have Venkat on board, who's part of Avishka Frontier Fund. And you have Dhruvnath, who along with Sushant Mitra had authored the book that he's holding, Funding Your Startup, and Other Nightmares. Because if you ask any entrepreneur who's been in the game, he can tell you any number of stories of the nightmares and the dips that he's been through. Because an entrepreneur's journey can be quite lonely. We've got the team to back it, got all of us, and that is largely from my side. Sorry for the monologue. Now, once again, a small request to all, please fill in the feedback forms, which would be posted on the chat window. To introduce Soham, Now, Soham, he launched GamerJi in 2019. Soham, he is a Rutgers University graduate and returned to India in 2012, having worked for 4 years in the US. He's worked in the FMCG sector, and he returned to start his entrepreneurial journey. Like any other young entrepreneur, he's seen his share of troubles and constant family pressure to move back to jobs or the corporate world after 2 failed ventures. He scaled his third venture, which was just Mexican, across 6 cities and sold the same. The bounty that he received from this was used in partly seeding GamerJi to attract casual gamers across age groups. He himself is a gaming aficionado, and he felt the timing was perfect in 2019 for a venture in gaming for people who are, in between just starting out or casual gamers to people who are hardcore professionals into gaming, hardcore into eSports. So that is the gap he started to fill out. Without much ado, I'd like to invite Soham. Soham, would you like to take us through briefly about yourself? And then, we can run the audience through with a few slides on what GamerJi is all about. And then we'll talk about what the gaming sector is. What are the kind of things?
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Manish, for the lovely introduction. Yes, I've had my own shares of ups and downs and the exciting experiences that probably I've been through. But then again, the story is long and the journey is even longer. So definitely would love to share a bit about myself before I obviously deep dive down into what gaming or what we do here at GamerJi. So my personal background, like what Manish said, I'm a computer engineer by education. Have been working for corporates as a programmer and a coder back in my US lives. Moved here, decided to take the leap of faith as an entrepreneur. Started an FMCG business that grew to about 13 restaurants over the course of about 2 years. Got successfully acquired in 2015. I've also had a couple of unfailed kind of learning experience ventures, as we put it, which unfortunately did not see the light of the day. GamerJi obviously has a passion for gaming, and a larger void that we saw in the market for semi-casual or amateur gaming space is where GamerJi was born in 2019, and that's been my personal background. Let me take you guys through a quick brief about what we do here at GamerJi. Manish is just making sure my screen is visible.
Yes.
Perfect. All right. Ideally, for people who don't relate to gaming or ideally don't understand what gaming is all about or what esports ideally is, we've been hearing these terms esports for the last 18 months at least since COVID has been hit. Well, esports is ideally competitive video gaming. The video games that have been there since probably a few decades now. But when you put a competitive element to it, it is what esports is all about. And that's what GamerJi does. We are an esports platform where we conduct tournaments for popular titles which are already having a larger following base in the country. And along with having the gamers a chance to compete, we also allow them to share content, communicate with each other, build communities, clan creations, and also participate in tournament and win prizes. Ideally, the gap that we saw was that as different as the conventional sports is, have, for example, cricket, where you start with your college or you're going to probably go to your district, your state level, etc. There was not a particular ladder in esports which took someone from the comforts of their bedroom and literally bring them to an arena setup to eventually become pros. And then obviously the quantum of gamers as increasing as it is in our country, we decided to have a virtual platform where people could start their journey, start competing in a semi-professional scenario. And by participating in multiple tournaments on a daily basis, they could kind of elevate their skills and also obviously getting eventually scouted as a gamer and making a future out of it. To address this particular gap, what we started doing was we started conducting more, as of now, we conduct more than 125 tournaments on a daily basis. We also allow people to host their own private tournaments on the platform. We have weekly, monthly championships. We are partnered with 180 colleges from across the country to entertain the collegiate arm of the esports. And then obviously, as any other brand would, we also have our IP tournaments, which are larger in prize pools and which attract literally, from a semi-pro or an amateur audience, literally all the way up to the pros participating in them. So what I exactly meant was a platform where you come, you select the game of your choice. You'll have multiple tournaments that you literally see every 15 minutes. You will participate in those tournaments. Post the tournament getting over, there'll be a leaderboard that'll be populated. There's a segment for live streaming. There's a separate segment for where highlights are captured. Like any other conventional sports, we've made an end-to-end solution where esports, whether it be the statistics, whether it be highlights, whether it be streaming, whether it be leaderboard, or whether it be just community creation, is all handled in the one single technological platform. As far as GamerJi is concerned, our bread and butter is the GamerJi app and web, where people can come, like I mentioned in the previous slide. GamerJi host is ideally a segment where someone wants to host their own private tournaments. Ideally, for example, in corporates, if you want to host for your colleagues, or in colleges, you want to host for your friends. You are more than welcome to have the GamerJi host platform where you can do that. CGL, our recent IP introduction, is, like I said, about 180 colleges are partnered in that. And GCC, which is GamerJi Community Challenge, being one of our IP tournaments that happens every quarter. In about less than 2 years, currently we are serving now more than about 1.77 million gamers on the platform, have generated significant revenue over the past 1 year. And with that, our MAUs are north of 500K and conducted more than 26,000 tournaments till date. So that's what GamerJi is all about. Definitely to learn more, please feel free to visit gamerji.com. Check out the web app. Your feedback's always welcome. I'm sure the lead team will be kind enough to share your feedbacks with me, but definitely something that can help you with the first gist of the gaming world. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Manish, again, back to you.
Yeah. So just one more thing, very quickly. I'll just take, not more than. So at Lead Angels, any company that comes across and pitches to us, we typically, have a framework, which is also there in the book, funding your startups and other nightmares. Okay, so in this book, we have this framework also. It's called a persistent framework. Now, as we all know, entrepreneur journey is a lonely one. It is, there are so many self-doubts, doubts created by users, by family, kith and kin. You need to be persistent, okay? Like if we take Soham's example, 2 of his ventures failed, but he was still at it, okay? And he sold 1 venture, he got some confidence on that. So first thing is, of course, what is the problem you're trying to solve? So in Soham, so in GamerJi, what you're trying to do is basically fill the gap for people who want to compete, but are not such professionals that, they could be in the international leagues or something like that. But they would like to have their own set of leagues with people who are in their kind of skill set or the skill levels, I would say. Is that correct?
Absolutely correct. So I'll just simplify it for the mass or the audience here is, imagine gully cricket, right, versus international cricket. In esports, there is no gully cricket that is existent right now, right? That's what we do.
That's okay.
Provide you with multiple, eventually elevate your skills to kind of climb that ladder or maybe eventually even become pros.
Okay. Earning model is a person pays and enters the tournament. Is that correct?
Well, there are multiple of them. There is subscription based, so you can subscribe on the platform. There's obviously pay to play entries. There's also, if you want to host your private tournaments, you could buy the packages that we host. Obviously, sponsorship also drives a small segment of our business, where ideally our IP tournaments are sponsored by brands like Airtel, like Loco, like Lenovo, etc. in the past. And then we also have a SaaS model where we kind of leverage our technology that we have developed for an end-to-end solution. We provide the same to a few of our notable clients like Winzo, Nazara, GeoNow, few of our named clients which have been.
So Soham,
associated with us.
okay. So in terms of earnings model, as you rightly said, so like we were doing a study at our place, and like we were doing a little bit of say research on the gaming side. Now there are some reports that say that 85%, 80+% of the revenues come from free-to-play games. Is that the fact is that a fact in India also, or other? Are the ratios higher or lower? What will it be from the free-to-play game side?
Eventually, any game that starts up has to start with a free-to-play. Right? That's where you engage a larger audience. That obviously, when you are looking at, a trial period where someone would come, they would experiment with your platform, and if they reach a stage where they are really loving your game, then they would end up doing in-app purchases. But yes, absolutely spot on, where all the games, whether it be the best of the best, like the BGMIs or the Free Fire or the Call of Duties, or you look at initial level entry games which have just started to kind of gain traction, it starts with a freemium model. Then you have in-app purchases, and then obviously eventually as the in-app purchases also grow, you're looking at parallel avenues, whether it be via eSports or whether it be via in-app ads. There have been multiple avenues that have been explored post the traction, but traction to bring.
Okay, is my connection bad or?
No, it's breaking for us as well, Manish.
Okay, thanks, Amol. Okay, so just a fact for the audience at large, if we see the figures, the Indian casual gaming market, which includes revenues. So if we look at the revenue perspective, the Indian gaming industry, so the study was conducted by KPMG, I believe, and it was worth 60 billion rupees, or you can say at 73 rupees to a dollar, it was $821 million industry, was the free-to-play kind of a, sorry, it includes casual gaming, which includes free-to-play, it includes advertising, sponsoring, and also you have in-app purchases, which have fueled this 6,000 crores. Sorry, 60,000 crores. 6,000 crores, sorry. So that is expected to grow to probably 169,000 crores. And what we are looking at is more than doubling in a span of less than 4 years. So which is a growth rate of far greater than 20%. Of course, risks, everyone knows. If you are into creating titles or creating your own game, that is a risky proposition. And we've not seen many of such fundings in India. But in case of GamerJi, the way he is looking at it is that all the international game title companies or Indian game title company can actually, people can come and play games on his platform for that. Size of the market, as we talked about, in terms of revenue, this casual gaming market is 44% of the market right now. So if you see the whole market, that's nearly $2.5 billion in terms of, say, revenues. And innovation, well, yes, you have, you're moving from, flash-based games. I mean, I still remember, way back in 1999, Sushanto and me had gotten funded a company called Contest to Win, which was founded by so-called Robin Hood of Indian entrepreneurs, which is Alok Kejriwal. And from that, we moved now to 4K games and other kind of things that is happening. So innovation, the way you use physics into all your, say, games, the graphics, which is literally lifelike, that all is happening into the gaming world. Scalability, well, yes. As we all know that pandemic has fueled the growth over here. So many figures on this. How did you grow right from March 2020 to now? I mean, if you can share with people.
Well, a few notable figures from serving 100,000 people to 1.7 million today. So we
Wow,
are definitely
that
looking at
is
17x. But
that
see
is
again,
17.
like that, till the last 18 months are a one-off. Right? I will not deny that. Yes, COVID played a silver lining for gaming, entertainment, and especially platforms like ours, where we had significant organic growth. You're looking at, literally my servers were in fumes when you're talking about last April, May. We didn't predict this, right? And that's an entrepreneur's journey, right? Where you kind of do that firefighting and make sure that you stabilize a platform sooner than what you can. And yes, that was definitely from 100,000 to 1.7 million is a journey. It's still, I think there's a very, very long way to go. But even from a revenue standpoint, we saw definitely a 15x jump. We saw, from a partnership standpoint, we saw a lot of conviction that was building in other brands as well. Obviously, the bigger milestone was, getting funded. Obviously, played a big part in kind of boosting our journey as well. And then, from a technological standpoint, we decided to go on the path of scale. But a humongous boost, like I said, about 15 to 17x in numbers and traction and revenues is what we saw in the past 18 months.
Right. So for people who are into stock markets, I'd just like to compare a figure like this. Most companies you would typically see them double in probably 4 years, 5 years, or your portfolio you can see doubling in a span of 5 years, giving you an IRR of around 12. Barely 10 to 15 times kind of IRR. And here we are talking about 15 times return. So that is exactly what we were talking about when we were talking about if you are into angel investing, you are investing into hyper growth segments. Okay. Now, in terms of risks, so the pandemic gave you the J curve. Do you see any risks associated with, now that things are opening up, people are going back to offices or schools and all? Do you think there'll be a slight dip, or do you think that there'll be a tapering off of the growth?
So there'll always be a correction, right? Obviously, the 15x growth is something which definitely gave us a great, kind of a launch pad. But it is something which will definitely, we have already started seeing that correction, right? We have seen a correction where, that's when you start kind of segregating the one-off users versus a user who are going to be on your platform for a lifetime, literally. So
right.
That's obviously the segregation started happening, but obviously it is a huge mindset change. Let's be honest. Globally we are seeing a huge mindset change from shifting everything that you possibly could to virtual, right? So it's definitely it is a bright space out there. Our challenge is going to be to retain these traction that we have received, right? It's going to be a good exercise for us, but there's always going to be some correction and some churn that we're going to see in the next few months before it starts again stabilizing on the path of growth.
But then again, the way I see it, if I see my son, I'm like, I see him post dinner, he's at his computer, and then there are times when I wake up at 6 o'clock and he's still at it, like he's playing the games or something like that. So some of these behavioral patterns have changed, and if a person wants to play a game, he will continue to play it. The people who are really passionate about it, that's what I have a feel.
I'm banking on it, and I am even banking on it more so when someone who's your son's age starts having the paying capacity. And that's where we see significant growth.
No, he has his own Paytm account, boss. Like he might even ask me now.
Ideally, that is where gaming and esports is headed. If you see, like, obviously the younger generation, you're looking at literally from the age groups of 13 to 30 is ideally a soft spot where the gaming audience is currently in India resides. And as the age group kind of increases, right, and the new entries keep happening, the targetable addressable market is bound to keep expanding, because the newer teens are obviously into gaming, and the one who probably someone like myself who started gaming 20 years ago is still gaming.
It's still good.
And with the obviously the paying capacity or the purchasing power kind of increasing in that age group, I'm definitely seeing a bright future for gaming, and also for platforms like us to cater to a larger amount of audiences.
So while we are at the subject of team, I'm like, we've already seen Soham's background. What is the team composition, and how's the team grown from March to now? And I wanted to actually.
We were 7. We are 42 today. So
okay.
So definitely a larger strengthening. We were only working out of a single revenue model. Obviously, now we've kind of diversified our revenue models as well. So
right.
Hence the departmentalized approach. Majorly, obviously, like I said, we now have, fortunately, the resources to get better talent. Obviously, there were times when I literally was coding the first version of the platform. Fortunately, so I have kind of stepped out of it now, and I'm focusing on the business development side, or ideally speaking, the partnership side as well. But yes, as entrepreneurs, you keep wearing different hats at different times, and fortunately, so now we have a decent sized team, which helps us in the path to scale.
So like again, so for the audience, for an entrepreneur, no job. I'm like, he could be the janitor, he could be the sweeper, he could be the coffee maker, and he also has to preside over the board meetings, okay, and give the right kind of figures or reports to the investors per se. And
you're missing even a larger portion is to raise the next round of funds and ideally give returns of investments.
No. So that is a given. Once you get into the fundraise mode, you're always raising funds. The good part becomes if these funds are coming from the customers, then nothing like it. I mean, like if a larger chunk of these are coming from the customers, then you have hit the product market fit,
Yeah, absolutely.
And so the team element, I also wanted to bring in the fact that although his team has grown 6 times, okay, from 7 to 42, his revenues have grown 15 cross. So that happens when you have a product play and you have a non-linearity with the team vis-a-vis revenue, relationship, if you talk about it. Okay. Entry barriers, of course, not everyone's game. You need the right kind of this thing and all. And you got Stadia Venture also to incubate you, and they've invested something in you, right? Which is,
yes.
I think, they are in cohorts with Google now, something on that?
Yes, they're collaborated with Google. Stadia works as an independent body. Stadia is ideally one of the most proficient, sports and eSports accelerators based off in the US. We were fortunate enough to get selected for that towards end of 2020, and that's where we went through some amazing connects, some amazing mentorships, along with obviously a small fund that kind of also accelerated.
Right. Niche, we all have already talked about what we are talking about. Someone who wants to go beyond casual gaming. That's the generation he's targeting. Largely focuses on Gen Z and some millennials, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
And of course, traction we've discussed about. Let me stop the screen share now. Over to the questions from the public at large. Just one sec. Someone is asking, he wants to work with a VC or a startup. Tarun, get in touch with us. Please connect with me on LinkedIn or Twitter. Happy to take the discussions forward. Sushmita is asking, curious to know if you have made socially relevant games. So Sushmita, he is not into creating games. He is into hosting games which are played by multiple people from different geographies on the same platform. So these are typically multiplayer games, or he hosts tournament for multiplayer games. So you can correct me if I'm wrong anywhere.
No, it's absolutely spot on. So what we do is we ideally gauge what are already popular games. We are not a game publishing organization. We don't make games. We capitalize on the games, and we are a tournament conducting platform for those particular games.
Okay.
But yeah, more than happy to check out the socially relevant aspect. If there are any games which are really having that multiplayer mode along with being socially relevant, more than happy to explore.
Do you have card games also? Because we have a person
No,
who...
I refrain from them.
Sorry, Josh.
Until unless they are in the gray area, I tend to refrain from them.
Bridge and all? You could do bridge?
Well, we can, but then again, the thing comes down to that the audience that we cater to.
Exactly.
It's a little different. It's a different genre. So
it is the retired golfers. It is the retired golfers who would.
I play, and I'm not a retired golfer.
Oh,
I'm still an active tennis player, but I still play bridge. But in the end, it's the targeted audience for us is more on the action based games.
So Josh, we'll talk about this later. The feedback form is right there. Again, I would request everyone to fill it out. हेलो पैनलिस्ट, क्या गेमर जी और बुक पर ही सेशन होगा? अभी तक के लीड एंजल सेशन में टोटली वेस्ट ऑफ टाइम. थैंक यू सो मच राजीव फॉर द काइंड वर्ड्स. अगर आपको नहीं समझ में आया, हो सकता है हमने अंग्रेजी में बोला हो, आपको नहीं समझ में आया, अगली बार से हम थोड़ा हिंदी में भी बोलेंगे सो दैट यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड इट बेटर. Anil is asking, what are the compelling reasons for gamers to move from their favorite games onto GamerJi? Yeah, this is interesting.
Well, see, the thing is, again, they are not moving away from their favorite games. Like what I explained, right? You're still playing your favorite game only. Like the tournaments that are there on our platform are your favorite game. We just bring in a competitive element to it. Right? Like how I explained, like you're still playing cricket. You love playing cricket. You'll still play cricket. It's a difference is, can you just play by yourself, or whether I would bring you from your comfort of your home and put you in a ground where I'll book the ground, where I'll invite other people who are similar of levels as you, and you will still be playing the same exact game. That's exactly what we do in the eSports space, where you're still playing your favorite game, but with people who are of a similar level as you, who also are aspiring gamers, and eventually, you're building your career into eSports or gaming.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Soham. Yeah. So the related question, related point I just made on the chat was also that. So let's say a bridge tournament.
Right.
When you talked about bridge games, obviously tournaments are already possible on those websites. So there is no value add that GamerJi can possibly add to those kind of things, right?
That's exactly why I see the thing. That's exactly why we refrain from card games or games like bridge. We ideally cater to games which are more action oriented, where there is more chances of people elevating their skills in a certain manner. Obviously targeting to the millennials or the GenZs. But again, on the other side, any game that has a competitive nature and which does not have a luck element can always be incorporated in a competitive scenario where you are competing and you're also making something out of it, whether you're making prize, rewards, or money.
Right. So apologies. Obviously, I'm not very familiar with the gaming
That's
space.
okay. That's okay. Not a problem.
Yeah, but so my simple question was that any game which becomes very popular and is fairly robust, let's say in terms of its platform, wouldn't they incorporate tournaments in their own software? Why do they need GamerJi for that?
You can't win over there, right?
No, it's not that. It's not that. I mean, they see what most of the publishers do. And obviously, when you play a game, you're already playing the game which is in a competitive environment. What we ideally do is we elevate that level of competitiveness by involving rewards and involving tournament landscape to it. Like how I explained, right? You can still play cricket. No one's stopping you from playing cricket. You still can invite people and you can still have your own match to play cricket. But eventually, if you have it in a more organized scenario, plus on top of it, you're building an entire gamers portfolio where people participate in multiple tournaments for multiple games. It's a one single platform where everyone from all different gaming backgrounds can come and participate. So for example, if there's one game, let's say for example PUBG, then you're only building your stats in PUBG. But if you play PUBG, if you play Call of Duty, if you play FIFA, if you play everything, it's a one single place you are building your entire portfolio around it.
Right. Okay. And that's where, I mean, if I'm a very good gamer, then I would like to be seen as let's say as a top ranker or a middle ranker or whatever.
Correct. It's making a LinkedIn profile, right? Where you're ideally making a profile on a portfolio based on different experiences. Obviously, there's a stats element involved since it's gaming, and then obviously there's an entire community approach where you could make your own privatized clans. You could obviously communicate with each other. You can have highlights of your games which can be showcased, and you can learn from tips and tricks by sharing with each other as well. So, in that community approach is what we also create along with just hosting tournaments.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you so much, Soham.
No problem.
Thanks, Anil, for insightful questions. Hope you got the answers to that. Google is so like, are you available on Play Store, or is there some talks going on?
No. So whenever there is a monetary factor involved, we don't put ourselves on the Play Store.
Okay.
So like any other platform, for example, Dream 11 or Winzo.
Dream 11 also is the same.
Same. So whenever there is a real money involved, Google unfortunately does not provide that facility for you to be hosted on there.
Right. So Titash is asking, what is the size of TAM? So total available market for gaming is around what? I think it's around $2.5 billion right now.
So from a size of the market, the total gaming audience, the total market in India, 190 million people, out of which the total addressable market for eSports is 27 million.
Right. And I mean, we can put a LTV figure to that, long-term value per customer, and we can try and commit what could be the possible scenario for this market in terms of INR and dollars and etc.
Correct.
Okay. Is chess also on your platform? Don't you feel it has a large audience playing tournaments?
Definitely something that I am planning. Should be on the cards soon. The only thing that we struggle with in chess is it's a two-player game.
Yeah.
I'm not able to cater to the masses. I'm going to have n number of tournaments to cater to, for it to scale. Unfortunately, that is my only constraint, which is one-on-one game. But if it's definitely something that we are considering.
Okay. Players are from which institutions and from which countries?
Only India for now. Soon in the next quarter, we'll be expanding beyond the borders as well.
Okay. And Amol is asking, what are the demographics of the people on your platform? I'm like, is there any focus around the states or something like that? Largely Indian players are there who can play in rupees, right? Is that correct?
They are only Indian players. Currently, we have only restricted our platform to India. Ideally, the primary demographics, obviously, unfortunately, is predominantly male, as we could have imagined. But you're also seeing a large amount of audiences, ideally from metros, tier 1, tier 2s. There is still a small penetration of esports in the tier 3 and beyond. But ideally, you are looking at up to tier 2s being the primary part of our audiences. And
Right.
I'm reading your second part of the question. Your thoughts on the PS Xbox as a competitor as well.
And or complementary to your platform. Is it complementary or?
See, the problem with PlayStation and Xbox is that it is extremely niche, right? Because how many people, to be very honest, I mean, yes, you're looking at, from a quantum standpoint, there are very few gamers who could ideally afford PlayStations or Xbox, let alone just affording the console itself, which costs about 40K. Every game would cost you about 6 to 7K, right? So it is not something which is, it's a niche. It's like a niche. How a gaming PC is a niche. You spending a couple of lakh rupees on a gaming PC is a niche. Where ideally India is still a mobile gaming first market, where most of the games are still played on mobile devices. So PS and Xbox, yes, it has its own smaller segment. I won't deny that, but it's something that would eventually grow. But for that, Sony or Microsoft will have to bring its prices more affordable to the Indian range. But hopefully that day will come.
Manish, can I ask one follow-up
Yes,
question?
please. Yes, please, Amol. Sure.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. So, on the risks, right, to a platform like yours, I would, how do you really de-risk what is going to happen with the, like, what happened with like a PUBG, right? I know it got banned, but I saw there were a lot of platforms which went out of business because they were so heavily focused on one game. Now that's
Amol,
one.
So before you move on to it, while we were in talks to fund him, this ban on PUBG happened, and well, there were sleepless nights on Soham's side, but he actually waded through the troubled waters pretty well enough, and that's why we had not only us but Unicorn VC also joining the same round, and the idea is again the same way in angel investing. Broaden your portfolio, diversify your portfolio. Don't be focused on one. Not more than 20% of your revenue should be coming from a single thing. That is essentially what is the thing of it.
Thank you.
So,
You answered it for me, Manish. So, Amol, we were fortunate enough that we had, till the unfortunate ban of PUBG happened, we had already diversified into a few other games. And if we were too focused on PUBG, we would have probably had a very painful time, or you, like you rightly pointed, even closer to death. Right. So we were in that fortunate era where we had already partnered with a lot of other publishers like Free Fire, Call of Duty Mobile, eSports, Supercell, etc., which made sure that our audience drifted rather than just falling apart. Right. So that's where but then again, it's these incidences are something which you always have to be cautious about. And Manish rightly pointed, you can't have all your eggs in the same basket, and it goes true with us also as entrepreneurs. You can't be just relying on one revenue model, one game. It's a painful and a very, very risky way to go. Hence we started diversifying, not only as a platform but also as a tech company in general. We have built products which assist gaming, whether it be via biometric recognition, whether it be via AI to prohibit, cheating or hacking activities that happen within games, matchmaking AIs, where you could ideally find like-minded competitors, directly kind of converting, entire video into snapshot highlights by capturing particular events that happen within a video. So things like these we started developing, which kind of gave us the moat compared to just relying on tournament and one particular game, which helped us survive and fortunately now scale.
Correct. So the reason I was going a little further in my question was, how do you basically understand that now there is a revenue generating game which is hitting a threshold where it could potentially skew the entire financials for you? Do you measure it that way, or today you're not looking at it? And then maybe potentially use that as a mechanism to promote some other games within your ecosystem so that, your spread becomes better.
That is precisely the longer term goal. Capitalize on the games which are popular, engage the audience in there. And then once you have that traction reach, once you reach that threshold, start targeting developers who want to or have built good products, but also want to look at a path to scale. And then GamerJi can be handy in there.
Got it. Thanks.
Of course.
I hope, Amol, your questions are answered. Anything
Manish,
else?
I want to ask a question on revenues. Soham, if you can shed some light on the revenues, current revenues you guys are earning.
I don't think it is public.
I think, Rahul, we can talk in public. We can't talk in public about it. I would like to keep that numbers to a more privatized discussion.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, we can talk. So we've told you about the growth we've seen. We've seen 15 cross growth and stuff like that. But beyond that, it may not be the right forum because. So Komal's question is that do you have direct competition in terms of anyone else hosting such tournaments, and how you differentiate it? Well, that's essentially about what you're targeting and how your look and feel, your UI, UX, also that goes. So last question, I think you could take up from Komal's side. When you see your competitor, what is the distinguishing factor that people will go for GamerJi? That's what.
Well, a few things. Like I said, the tech that we have built automatizes the entire process. We are fortunate enough to be the first platform to have completely automatized tournament conduction, without eliminating the manual steps. Tournament conduction is not something which is a rocket science, right? And you can literally do it on a social media page as well where you have followers. The point is to automatize this entire process via technology is something that we have built our moat on. Hence, the number of tournaments that you see on the platform has an opportunity to scale. Along with that, as compared to our competitors, we have started building tech which ideally provides enhancing stats, which also provides enhancing competitor analysis, which also provides, like I said, streams and highlights. And a one single platform for that gives us a little bit of an edge compared to what our competitors are doing in the industry.
Right. Swagat is asking, he's having some troubles in the APK. Swagat, we could get on it offline and.
Swagat, just visit GamerJi.com. You should be able to, download the app from there. If you're facing any concerns, please find me on LinkedIn. Please reach out to me. I'll make sure that your issue is resolved by the team.
Yes, you can do that. And thank you so much, gentlemen. I think that was the last question. We are well in time. Okay, 1 minute over. So thank you so much to all you people for the patient hearing. And once again, a request to all, if you have not filled in the feedback form, please do so. That would really help us how we can actually go about it. And we'll be coming back to you next Saturday again with another series. Gaming sector is hot. There are gamers, and sometimes I get sleepless nights with my son not sleeping the whole night. Okay, so it is an addiction, but if in controlled state, people are actually making money on this. And yes, we would be getting more companies in the gaming sector. And if you have any queries on the angel investing side of the thing, happy to take them on one-on-one. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. On Twitter, it's Manish Johari 8. And you can also reach out to us on, I'm just putting my number in here.
Looks like, Manish, you've also borrowed your son's headphones.
Yes, I have. Exactly. Back on. So that is my number, and this thing is, he's also in fact part of his gaming society, and although he's into playing such games, he's equally fond of board games and is the de facto youngest head of board games in his in his college, basically. And yeah, so those are my contacts: Manish Johari 8 on Twitter and 998274411. Look forward to connecting you with all of you whenever we can set up the time. Thank you so much, Balaji, Chandrasekhar, Komal, Sunil, Vinod, Jyotsna, Rajesh, Balaji, Venkat, Dolesh. Good to have you with us. Binish, Soham, once again, thank you so much for taking all the time. And we'll keep you all updated. Vikas, good to have you with us. Hope the session was useful. And look forward to connecting with you later on this.
Thank you, Manish. Thank you. It was a pleasure meeting everybody, and thank you so much for taking out the time.
Great. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.